Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Yash Idnani. Today I've got Yash Idnani from Epic Design Works. He's the lead architect and the director of Epic Design Works. Welcome, mate.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adi, for this opportunity today.
Yeah. I'm so glad you could make it. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I am an architecture designer. I do a lot of design and consent works in and around Auckland. I do a lot of multi-lot subdivision work and helping a lot of builders and developers and homeowners to, achieve their dreams of developing their properties.
You mentioned some quick out through that.
Absolutely. So we are the bedrock of every creative design that comes out and becomes what we see. We kind of live and breathe it. And so pretty much the starting point of any design comes through to us, and then we kind of shape that into a reality, and that's how we operate. So eventually we kind of deal with a lot of first-time homeowners or seasoned developers or someone who wants to do a garage conversion. So kind of tailor for this industry, for construction industry.
What's the biggest job you've done?
So we've done our 28-lot subdivision in South Auckland, which turned out to be quite a good urban design level job, whereby we had to look at multiple issues on a holistic level, whereby we are looking at urban design stuff that goes around designing the road network, how the services will work and all that stuff. But hey, we've done over 300 odd jobs now, so
Wow, that's really cool.
quite a while. But we've done some. We also do some beautiful pool designs, landscape pool stuff. So that's my passion really, and enjoy doing that a lot. And but that really doesn't pay the bills. So multi-lots kicks in, and those kind of work really helps.
Yash, and in this ever-changing world where the building code constantly evolves, how do you find the balance between, say, creativity and innovation, keeping up with the building code? The question is, do you?
Not really a balance. It's more like a compromise.
It's a compromise.
Yeah. Essentially, the industry, the creative sort of part of the design is really compromised based on the rigidity of our building code structure, the way it's structured. By saying that, there is no real room to maneuver with different design opportunities that we get. And for instance, we do pool designs quite a lot, and we need to do pool fencing and all that stuff. So people come up with all these fancy ideas from Australia and Fiji, and you see infinity pools running, and you kind of get those ideas. Like, cool, I want to do that, And then we kind of say, no.
Creative,
Yeah, and no. Actually, you need to put a pool fence right there, because Auckland Council does not allow you to open your doors right into the pool area. And they're like, hang on, what are you saying? How I don't want a pool fence blocking off that area. But somehow that code was designed in 1987, the Swimming Pool Act.
You was born in 1987.
Okay. I was 1988, but they haven't really. There's no real evolution to how the design has been changed over the period of time.
Oh, and last 36 years, you reckon? 36 years.
Nothing has really changed. They're even more stubborn now. They don't even allow you to open a couple of panels of sliding doors from your living room.
Okay, so the building code does exist for a reason, though, doesn't it?
It does exist for a reason, but it has to have again, when you talk about balance, it has to have a balance between what a case is required.
Creative design, safety.
Yeah.
So the building design exists for safety reasons, because you do not want another leaky building scenario at all.
Absolutely, but there is issue which are technical, which are related to leaky issue, technical side of things, which I don't mind not compromising on.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there is a design aspect to it where you have some vision which you have to achieve for a particular look or a particular feel. It's also about the experience of the design that really matters. And quite a lot of time people are compromising on that, because imagine you want to see nothing but a beautiful infinity pool overlooking a valley, and then you have a big piece of glass in between that. And it's for us as a designer, you succumb to those ideas because then council has a huge rigid behavior around how they're going to work on approving that thing. Now, when you talk about the safety of the people or, other aspects of building code that is why it is designed to make sure that it's safe, it's healthy and all that stuff. You got to understand that every case is different. So we have created a rigid structure, but we want a very dynamic, creative sort of a ever-evolving design methodology to be fitting into that rigid structure. And that's where we find quite a bit of struggle. We need that leveraging somewhere within the council parameters to allow for some flexibility. So what my understanding is, you do a design, they have some issues, you work with it, rather than, telling us, oh, this is what the code says, follow this or we'll never approve your consent. And that's the approach we get. So
that's not ideal though, is it?
Not at all, because we designers want to use different materials, experiment with design, propose some wacky design stuff. The moment you design a pergola sticking out a couple of meters, they want all sorts of engineering on it, which is fine again. But then there are multiple issues within council with planning, with engineering.
But all of that contributes to the cost of the build itself.
Absolutely.
Like your cost goes enormous. Just
absolutely.
Cater to all those requirements. Fine, can I ask you another question? How is this different to the rest of the world? Do you have experience working anywhere else in the world?
Well, I did work in Australia for a couple of jobs. I did work in Dubai. I'm still helping a guy in Dubai for the motel project. So what they do over there, it's more, the efforts are very inclusive. When I say inclusive is they have first of all, they have vision to grow. So their vision is not to succumb to a certain rigid structure or a booklet maybe. But their idea is to enhance people's ability to design better quality products, and that is what
you reckon. It's like a mindset shift that we possibly need to take an easier look.
Absolutely. I think there are a lot of people are shit scared of liabilities, even in council, and that's fine. I understand there are legalities that are.
Well, technically, the liability really sits with the taxpayer, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Eventually,
if it sits with the council, it sits with the taxpayer.
Exactly, and they charge you for all this middle party, sort of. But eventually, the liability lies in hands of the designer or the builder or the owner who has to take the brunt of it anyways.
Yeah, I had a very interesting conversation with MB Simon Corps, who was on our podcast recently.
Oh, really?
And we spoke a lot about where that liability sits from a design perspective and the type of sort of build perspective, and his views were. That liability currently sits with the council, which means essentially it sits with the taxpayer. Whereas you're going, why is it not sitting with the asset owner and or the owner of the property itself and the designer and the builder?
See, eventually what the LVP scheme is, the way I understand the structure is, so builder is 50% responsible for the liability, 25% is the design liability, and 25% is council liability. So 3 major stakeholders involved in any kind of project. But eventually what happens is council had a panel of lawyers sitting behind their back. So they don't care about money. Again, taxpayers put in the bill.
You don't want my money.
Yeah. So, but for us, it's like we can't have a panel of lawyers for everything that comes through our door. So we are very conscious about what we are doing as such, And in fact, the homeowner also, like the builder itself, has a 10-year master builder or some sort of a basic prerequisite for any kind of build they do. So eventually, the guys who are doing it are still putting in their hard yard. You know what I mean? But council comes in and they have to charge. No. Every meeting they have to charge for it. Small change in the design, they want an amendment or some sort of a paperwork around it. Then bureaucratic issue starts coming into the picture, and not only the collateral damage in money, it's also the time that
the massive time's a huge aspect, because every time councils don't approve a line of variation, they physically stop and work on site, which means labor is actually still on site. How do you plan around that? I struggle with that on a regular basis.
Absolutely, because you kind of don't know what they're thinking, and there are people who are not as experienced as they should be on that particular position, and it's again a sense of empathy towards the whole process. When you've gone through that entire process of getting approvals, then there is, for what I feel should be the cases, we get a case officer who then works with us to figure out how fast we can do it. Rather than figuring out, okay, I want to make this life's hell,
Yeah. And interrogate the design right down to the nth degree. And that's not the way to go about it, is it?
Yeah. And there's a lot of bullish behavior, I would say. because their way of thinking is, okay, this is what we have been taught in council, and sometimes that doesn't necessarily how it is done, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of struggle with managing expectation again, when we say, okay, something has not gone right according to the plans, even though we've spent huge amount of money getting those plans done, still people struggle. Oh, they have told us to do a building and amendment, and it boils down to that.
So it's interesting. So the points I was just summarizing that literally your design creativity is so now compromised because of the building code.
Yes, and also the
Because of rigid building code and the attitude of the people.
absolutely. I feel that design is ever evolving, adaptive to our human nature, and that should be the same proactive sort of adaptive behavior that the council and the legislation should operate with. And you can see rapid growth in these countries like Dubai, Singapore, because they evolve along the way.
Yeah.
They have processes where they say, okay, now we are now not up to date to what's happening in US, so we'll
Not a 36-year-old handbook that hasn't been updated.
exactly. And you know how many pages are there in that handbook? 9 pages. So really, out of that 9 pages, 4 are index and glossary and all that stuff, and 4-5 pages, that's it. And it just opens a can of worms for us, because anyone can interpret it in a different way.
So the building code only has 9 pages?
No, that particular code. So building code is divided into multiple codes, and this particular swimming pool act is only 9 pages.
Yeah.
But the rest, other codes as well, are not up to date. So that's also another problem that we're facing now.
Interesting insights, Web. Yeah, I appreciate it, thoughts. Yash, we touched on this a bit earlier, the time frame for consenting and the rigid nature of the building code. That process is quite an archaic process. And the time taken for consents is ridiculous in our country. Yeah, because I did a little bit of an exercise, and I actually published this article on LinkedIn. I'm not sure if you've actually had a chance to look at it earlier, where I compared the amount of time it would take from paper, spade in the ground, to providing completion, we turning over return, getting return on investment.
Yeah.
And for a block of hours.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, where can we save time on the critical path? Because it's literally what I do for a living. I do plaques and literally, how can we use digitalization to enhance this process?
Okay.
We can go on and on. And I managed to pull out about 6 months. So I said we could fast track this process by easily 6 months.
Absolutely.
So do you believe it's quite the convoluted, rigid process?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just for an instance, for a 4-lot or a 5-lot simple sub-residential development, which is our bread and butter, so we know exactly how to do it. We go through 6 or 7 engineers to approve it. So from the council, yeah. So process is quite, you go through a resource consent process, you go through an EPA process, then you go through the building process. But at every stage, there is so much engagement and review that it ends up costing a lot of money.
Great.
And also not only the money in the delays, because there is bureaucratic issues that someone has gone on holiday, and suddenly the assessment is delayed for 2 weeks because nobody's going to pick up their phone on sitting in Fiji having their work or something, So that really pisses us off, because that has happened in multiple cases now where our consent is approved, but an engineer is sitting in Fiji, and we just have to wait for him to enjoy his holidays, come back, and then he can just stamp the drawing and say, yep, all good to go. And that's down to the fact that it's so cumbersome that we kind of lose traction and the interest in the project as well.
You're not the best person to tell me that.
It's crazy.
Somebody else told me that on this podcast. Ben and Bea from the Development Collective.
Oh, really? Yeah, I know that.
You know that?
Yeah.
I'll ask you the same question I asked them.
Yeah.
From paper, from when you commence to drawing, to spade in the ground, how long does it take you on average?
On an average.
I know you don't just spade in the ground, but you assist at a time. Getting spade in the ground. How long does that process take?
Normally it's 6 to 7 months easy. I mean, I prepare my clients that this is just purely a very basic timeline. Anything over is just expected.
That's an average timeline.
Absolutely.
Worst case?
Worst case can go up to 1.5 years as well, depending on who you get. So It's crazy how.
Your views are not very different to that of Bayard and Vince.
Oh, really? I've seen cases where it's gone more than 2 years as well. So it's crazy how much time council takes. And even in fact, how the conversation...
What would you do to change that process? What would you do?
The first thing I would do is allocate it sort of a project leader in council. So leader means someone who puts in the right people at the right place, and then that person follows through entire process. So for example, a development engineer who's looking at the application from
like a project director for a project on a construction site, who's accountable for everything that goes on that site.
No, absolutely. And that could be very...
You don't have that?
No, we don't, because every time an application goes, it gets allocated anonymously. So even the processor who's getting it doesn't really know that it's his expertise or not. And many times they say, oh, it's not our expertise, we need someone else. And
because if it's a retaining wall, it's got to be a different person. If it's your EPA...
Exactly. Geotech is separate issue. Soil contamination is separate issue.
Yeah.
Another is setup engineer. I've also got council pushing us back that we don't have the right resources for the complexity you're dealing with. That's even worse. They want us to engage a third-party opus, for example, or to do their work, and on client's money. So you can imagine they're allocating jobs without really thinking about it. All they do is they know that this resource is there. He's just freshly graduated from uni. He's an engineer from uni, papers and stuff. But he doesn't know shit about construction.
Yes, he's on a judge show. Maybe this would change perspective from an Auckland council or any council in New Zealand perspective. And you're not allowed to get a job on council unless and until you've actually built the job on site.
Absolutely. That should be a tremendous, similar, like we are practitioners doing our work for the last few years now. And you can imagine we get judged by people who are 2 years into the industry and they don't know shit about what we are doing. But that's where there is a terrible conflict.
There is a mismatch.
It's totally incompetence if you look at how these guys are.
And liability taken on by the taxpayer.
Absolutely. And the money as well.
And the money spent by the client.
Yes, too much money spent by these clients, and they go for a coffee break. That's also paid by the taxpayer or the client. Quite easy.
Well, I'm not going to call it this coffee break. He's entitled to one.
But for a simple amendment where we were changing a couple of things, they charge us 12 grand.
Is that what a minor amendment costs?
Yeah.
12 grand.
So they charge 2 grand just for the deposit, and then we got $10,000 plus bill.
So is that for a full consent or only for an amendment?
For an amendment, for a small little change.
A minor variation?
No, just a small amendment.
A minor amendment.
Minor amendment, not even a major that we are changing.
It charged 12 grand?
Yeah.
How much does the full consent cost?
The full consent, like one I got recently done for 6 lot, it costed us 42 grand.
$42,000.
Just for for building consent I'm talking about. Consent is separate.
Yeah.
EPA is separate. So overall, my client paid about $65,000 just to get approvals for 6 lot. All detached, no fire rating, no drama, properly designed homes, beautiful homes.
65 grand.
65 grand.
And then we wonder why the cost of housing is where it is today.
What do we do about it? It's like they send you a bill and...
How about we take Simon Court's approach and say, why do you need a consent? Let's ask the logical reason if we do need a consent or not.
No, the fact that you need a third party to supervise the work is quite important as well. So I don't want to discredit what they do, because a lot of shit people are there in the market trying to create potholes for people in the future. So that's why this process was introduced in the first place. And NVP scheme was introduced in 2008.
Plus we got a leaky home scenario.
Correct.
Also civilians.
So then that scenario has, we've written that thing, and then we introduced the cavity system in the wall and all that stuff. Still our roofs are leaky because we are direct fixing the roof. So now leaky syndrome part 2 has started, whereby your roofs have started creating mold within the house. There's air trapped in that particular roof space. So the adaptation of these codes, we are trying to do more, but the codes are quite rigid. So in fact, I did some vented roof system for a client in 2018. The council rejected it because they don't even know the system yet. So it's crazy that these guys are not even aware of the systems that is hugely popular all across the globe and have been tested against even worse climate conditions, So for me, it's like, okay, we have to stick to what we have because of the bullish behavior and because of the fact that there is so much technical jargons around even using a basic cladding material. So you can imagine the stress the designer goes through to get an approval for the client. So the whole enjoyment part of that whole passion, that whole experience of enjoying a good design goes thrown out of the window because they're using the better. Absolutely. I hate it because we as designers we are happy souls, right? We are every day I get up with an excitement in my soul that, today, but then you get an shitty email from Comsit that this product is not a New Zealand made product. So I like, God damn it, it's used Australia, everywhere it's used. So I'm talking about this product that I'm using for a cladding system. And that product is super famous in Australia, being used in multiple places, and Council rejected that particular material here. And like, you can't even trust us from Australia.
In summary, we do need a building consent. But
we don't need a building consent.
We do need it, but we need to make it faster, smarter,
better. And we need to, the main thing is adaptable. What I note is decentralization of the authority itself.
So Yash, I've spoken a lot about consents, and we've quite a bit about consents.
Yeah.
You mentioned decentralized consents. Can you tell us what you mean by decentralized consents?
So essentially what happens is that initially council was multiple district councils.
Yeah. And then they became Auckland Super City?
Super City kind of thing. And it's called a territorial authority. So it took over all the district councils and becomes like a one TA, which is going to be taking care of all sorts of consents within one umbrella.
Yeah.
The whole idea was to sort of give uniform processing and assessment to entirety of the Super City, which is Auckland. Yeah. But now what has happened over a period of time is council has taken a very bullish sort of approach to it, because they are obviously monopolizing in approving consents.
They're the only authority that can approve it.
Correct. No, the only other, I'll correct you there, Andy. There's another agency called PNC.
PNC.
Yeah. So they're based in Botany. Right. So they are also an approved authority by BCA, by Ministry of Business, to perform these building consent assessment. But that's it. That's the only one. Apart from that, council pretty much takes care of all the consent that goes through, or design work that goes through Auckland, within the Auckland region, So, but what happens, it creates a huge bottleneck of getting stuck in that governmental sort of behavior attitude.
The bureaucratic process.
Bureaucratic process and all sorts of red tapeism, ego clashes and all that stuff. And then it doesn't really funnel out from the other end, But whereas you look at case studies from different countries, there are other agencies which are technically qualified enough and recognized by their provincial authorities to do these kind of work as well.
So to approve consent, you mean?
Correct. Yep. So Australia follows similar guideline, where because Australia is quite big, so they have different provinces, and different provinces have different councils, but they also have private companies who are, you can hire directly. You don't even need to talk to the main authority, and you say, hey, look, I'm going to do 15 jobs this year. So you become my, consenting.
So this is like I said earlier, rather than you going to the council not knowing where to allocate the job, they allocate it Opus.
Yeah.
You go directly to Opus and say, hey, you are approved by Auckland Council. Why don't you approve a consent for me?
Correct.
Right.
And that makes it very easy for everyone, because the workload.
Now, let's talk about liability. Okay, so I understand the concept of decentralization, which is cool, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens overseas. I'm not well versed in what happens in Australia, but okay. So now Auckland Council takes all that. Cool. Yeah. Which means the taxpayer takes all that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What would happen when Opus approved a design, or it can be a company like Opus approved design? What happens in that instance? Where does the line sit?
So I give an example. So there are insurance for everything. You have insurance for losing your shoe, losing your dog, losing everything. So similarly, BBC, for instance, is a clear example for us who have a public liability insurance similar to Thompson as well.
I have public liability, you have public liability.
Everyone. So it's just how you customize that particular liability within that framework that allows for a better sort of liability share. And I would say that would be a better outcome, because people will be more careful. If you deal with BBC ever, they actually process a consent in less than 20 days. They do all the time. The only difference...
Have you dealt with them?
Yeah, I know them very well. and we have a good working relationship. Another thing is good working. People who have been working in the industry for 10 years, 12 years, they're private industry people, right?
Yeah.
So they should be given some sort of form of credit that these guys are doing it. We've got a proven record. They share the liability. So why don't give them a little bit?
So what do you think the council needs to make this happen?
See, council will not do shit about it because they get all the money. So it is about Ministry of Business who has to really work on it. So it's down to the politics of how.
But okay, so let's say hypothetically, right? The councils make it all the money, which is great. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, don't really care. But what I really do care about is slowing down the process of building.
Absolutely.
And in turn, there's less return on investment for an investor.
Absolutely.
So that investment is now not appealing anymore. Like you said, they're taking the creativity out of it now. And but it takes shitload longer.
Yeah.
Right? Why would I buy a piece of land and develop it? In my rights, why would I do it?
To be honest, this is a question that has been popping up a lot.
With the interest rates and then what it is, it's crazy.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of a recent case we did in Conifer Grove.
I know where Conifer Grove is, yeah.
So that's lies in Veolia, So Veolia is the third-party agency for water supply over there. And so we only proposed 3 more new houses in that particular property. Everything got approved. Council is totally happy. Now they're asking us to upgrade a water mains line of up to 0.5 kilometer for us to get approval for 3 houses. So they want us to upgrade the entire line on client's cost. You know how much the quote came out to upgrade that? $600,000.
Yeah, I would have said 500, but it's 600.
600, yeah. So, but technically speaking, they're just doing 3 houses. So how much load will that put on the entirety of the line? So we have been negotiating and offering them a deal that we are happy to pay money to share that particular piece of water mains upgrade and stuff.
Well, why is it the landowner's responsibility to upgrade a water main?
Well, in 2016 when the new AUB was kicked in, 2017 because council, hang on, how will we make the money? So they started this new thing called development contribution, which was already there, but initially it was like pennies. Now it's like a huge chunk of money which I call white mafia. In a way,
mafia.
Yeah, it's purely a white mafia. They don't give any value. Pretty much, it's a white collar mafia. It's like you're building the house, you give me 100 grand for it. It's literally like that because every time.
Wow. Okay.
Really.
So that is the house owner actually contributing
to the
network for infrastructure upgrade.
Correct. So the council had published that again. When I say published, it was not a public document. It was a private. They just upgraded their documentation within, the legislative authorities, and they raised the bars. They say, hey, look, everyone's trying to build houses. We want to charge them more. So that's why I called white mafia, because they upgraded the rates without anyone's consultation. So again, they are raising the rates to that. So this particular case that we are doing, for 3 houses, the development contribution came out to be $135,000.
Just now, that's an Auckland Council scenario. Now come back to your decentralization, right?
Yeah.
Decentralized consents.
Correct.
What would happen if you'd had to go to PCB to approve that consent and not to Auckland Council? What different outcome do you reckon you would have got?
It's faster, it's more...
No. From that cost perspective. So Auckland Council said, now you got to fund a certain amount of money to upgrade a water main, 600 grand. Sure.
Correct.
See, do you reckon it would have been a different outcome if you'd gone to a decentralized authority that was?
Absolutely. Because there is some form of empathy that you understand that the scale of the project that you do has to contribute to the public works. You know what I mean? You can't expect a guy who's doing 3 houses. So that particular instance, there was another development down the street with 54 houses. So it makes the proportion of the development is quite different. You know what I mean? So when 54, 55 houses, upgrading a water main makes sense because
the amount you got to take.
Correct. And because they got their approval first, we are subjected to now do that instead of them, And so that's a bureaucratic and red tapeism, that comes in and say, hey, look, you guys are doing it. You're doing 54, we are doing 3. And still we have to, contribute a major chunk of it. Doesn't make sense, right?
But I believe decentralization might start creating other issues that we are foreseeing right now. Maybe, potentially.
Correct, but it creates a competitive edge, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
They
They're actually going to start working for your money.
correct.
And you're not only going to one authority to actually get.
Correct. Then the authority will behave better because they know that the business is going. Eventually, everything is about business. Open council is all about business.
Yeah.
So when you talk about business, they don't want to lose any of their business, right? Even if the people who are doing the work, who are doing all the hard yard, they suffer a lot, but they don't want to lose any of the penny that goes out in the market.
Yeah, this is a really interesting conversation. I could probably go on for another hour about this, but I'm going to cut you there.
Yeah, that's right. You both can actually.
Yeah, very interesting.
Andy, I've got something interesting for you now.
Go ahead.
So my question to you is that you do a lot of project planning for a lot of different areas of projects, infrastructure, housing, whatever.
We have buildings, infrastructure, road rail.
Yeah.
Infrastructure upgrades as in like fiber cable to the ground, the water main upgrades, doesn't matter. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But do you feel that there is a difference in dealing with different kind of projects in different areas of New Zealand with territorial authorities, with
Absolutely.
really?
100%.
And with the development engineering team, or how you interact with overall the stakeholders of the project?
It's quite interesting, right? I've worked on AT Eastern Busway.
Yeah.
The challenges are very different when you're dealing with a project at that scale, which is $800 million. That's the scale of that project itself. It's huge. And actually extending busways on either way, all the way down to Rapid Drive. It's quite cool. And all you're doing, say, I don't know, Matakana scopes.
Yeah.
I don't deal with the territorial authorities myself. Yeah, but I do get involved in the planning around how you deal with these territorial authorities, and it's quite interesting for me to see things from different perspectives.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
like the overall consent as such. Like, when you compare it to a building job, how you're dealing with a building consent for, say, a 5-lot subdivision.
Yeah.
That's probably all, not a problem. It's taken care of, and it's done by a greater design team. For an AT Eastern Busway.
Yeah.
But the challenges for them will come into play because it's a public project and you've got to acquire property.
Correct.
There's a completely different set of challenges, right? So you've got to now acquire property for the benefit of the good of the greater good.
Yeah.
But then that could entirely be stopped by said, or it could be a landowner that says, "Hey man, I don't want to make it for my place."
Correct.
And then you go through a PWA process, which is quite interesting. It's different,
Absolutely.
But as building your 8 lots, you never have to go through that.
Absolutely.
Because you own the land. All you're dealing with is public infrastructure, which is EPA work.
Correct.
Yeah, they're dealing with EPA work. They're dealing with acquiring the property. But then the overall consent as such is then on a level already improved. So it's quite different. It's very different. And I worked on a couple of jobs like this, where it's like big infrastructure development jobs, where you go in, the PWA Act is quite insane when you actually read into it and you understand it. You probably would never have dealt with the PWA scenario.
Not at this.
Yeah. I think it's called Public Works Act.
Yeah.
Once you understand that, that's a completely different kettle of fish.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you're looking at it from your perspective. Funny, in my job, I get to look at it from your perspective, from a public works perspective.
Got it.
So it's building buildings is very different to building infrastructure.
Infrastructure. Yes, totally different.
Yeah. It's a completely different ball here.
Do you think, like, when you look at the infrastructure development in China, like, you look at how fast they bloody build anything that come across the way, and you look at, because I deal with a lot of, I've got mates who are project managers and dealing with all these stuff, and what their feedback is, it takes about couple of years just to get the approvals from all the stakeholders, for example.
In New Zealand?
In New Zealand. Oh, and probably the work would take 9-10 months to be done, so it's quite a...
Probably more, but it depends on the scale of the job. But...
Absolutely. But what I say is that it normally takes huge amount of convincing to local boards, EVs, some form of, indigenous values that comes into the picture, or acquisition, as you say. And but
arborists, a tree. No, and then there's lizard management plans. I would know better than man. Yeah, I dealt with each one of these in different instances, man. Like, actually, on one of these different projects, I had to sit down and go, what the fuck's a lizard management plan? Like, yeah, like, this is cool. I mean, it's important, right? They do form a very one part ecosystem,
Yeah.
But I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. They do make a meal out of it, don't they? Like,
Yeah.
like you imagine the country's growth as an overall picture is down to how fast we can do things.
Yeah, return on investment.
Correct. And you look at why this country has really steered out of the global economical level, if you look at other countries in that way.
But also on the flip side of things, they are a very peaceful nation.
We are.
We'll take care of the environment.
We do.
We do things slowly.
Yes.
We do it in our own time.
Correct.
But then you come to New Zealand for a lifestyle.
We do. But there has to be again a balance. You can't be running into ground because you need a peaceful. Like you have to cater to all sorts of. World is now global, right? It's not just down to New Zealand. I know a lot of countries who are behaving that even to a global audience.
Yeah.
You know. And so
what I'm trying to say is I probably wouldn't want New Zealand to go as fast as China. You know what I mean? Because because we don't live in China. I don't want to live. I didn't come here for that crazy life, right?
Correct.
I came here for a chill, peaceful life. So I agree with you. There's a balance.
Yeah, the balance. Yeah.
We are off balance where we're going too bureaucratic, too protective.
Correct.
Killing the creative.
Yeah.
How do we then switch back and come back to balance?
Yeah.
Where we go, there's a balance between protecting the environment,
Correct.
and but not also rushing into things.
Absolutely. So when I use the example of China in some extreme end of respect already, but you look at other countries where there's a balance between a good outcome for environment or for the people, or which is what is really what you're looking after. But eventually you gotta understand that everything slows down, and that brings the country to a board. So you don't have a larger economy, you don't have people having more bigger visions and thoughts, and that is one of the reasons you see a lot of migration going into Australia, because really not a lot of people are enjoying
There aren't enough opportunities here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So I don't see a point in having an extreme end, preaching that or aiming to that extreme end, but it has to be a balance where it is attractive for people to still stay here. I mean, the economy of
It's attractive for me to stay here.
it is because you are a super specialist in doing what you're the best in the market.
I'm not bad.
But there are a lot of brain drain going on. There are everywhere.
Yeah, I 100%. There's absolutely brain drain.
There is a threshold after which you can't really grow. Even when you talk about developments, you really don't know. People have really started migrating and they're doing shitloads of work there. And because there's obviously support from infrastructure level, they have more land, they have less topography or geographical issues and stuff. But in reality, the attitude starts from the ministerial level, from the political level.
From policy.
Yeah, from the policies that we are entitled, we are getting. But I don't see any vision that comes through the government that really says, okay, now hang on, we need to balance everything, but we need to really push forward and do something bigger. You don't need
from my podcast at Siren Court, I've had a little bit of what this coalition government's working on, and there might be change coming.
I hope so. I really do.
And Simon Coates got a vision where where he kind of gave a little bit of an insight on my podcast into his vision,
Right.
And I found that very interesting. You must go check out his episode. I'm sure you'll.
I definitely go through that. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think there is a huge a shift required in the attitude of how the country is run. Country is not huge, but
He'll be all right, bro. She'll be all right.
She'll be okay. Yeah. I'm just looking at a larger picture.
I'm with you there, man.
Yeah.
Now, did I answer your question?
Not really.
I didn't. I didn't answer your question.
I think you did. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So that was cool. But I guess the inference is that we gotta have that kind of shift in the attitude of starting from top to the bottom and making sure that everyone's striving, not surviving or sustaining themselves. And there's a difference between striving and growth is one of the key fundamentals that any human, at least from our perspective, looks after to really grow as a person, as a professional, as a designer, to think beyond just what is just acceptable solutions written in a code, isn't it? So that's how I think we should really change the attitude.
I'm pretty sure change is coming. Let's watch the space. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but it's going to be interesting. Yeah, sure. Yes, you're very passionate about football.
Yes, indeed.
Tell me more.
So yeah, I'm deeply passionate about football as a sport, as a tactical sport, because I feel that a lot of my influence as a person, as a professional, came through football.
Yeah.
So I started watching football in 2006, and for me, I'm a Lionel Messi fan, and I followed Barcelona consequently.
Hang on, what does Messi play for there?
Now he plays for Inter Miami, so he's really changing the face of football in US.
Does he just follow Beckham?
Exactly, he has, because Beckham went in there in 2011, I guess.
Yeah.
And he has really followed his footsteps. But the reality has really changed the face of football in US. Yeah. Because now he's one of the most searched athlete in US itself.
Well,
yeah, really. And he's really
not any of the Super Bowl players.
No one. You look at no Tom Brady, no Taylor Swift, nothing comes in picture.
No, not even Taylor Swift.
Nah.
Taylor Swift coming to play.
Yeah. Because you know how Taylor Swift is going all the Kansas City matches, right?
Is she?
Yeah, she's getting
a lot of work football.
Yeah. No, but her boyfriend is Travis Kelce, who's the captain of Kansas City.
Who's boyfriend?
Taylor Swift.
Oh, okay.
No, because I know
I'm not a Swiftie, bro.
I'm not a Swiftie as well, and I know football. That's why I know it. But really, football has really shaped in a way that I kind of operate cohesively. So the football that Barcelona used to play is called total football. When you say total football, is every player plays every sort of role in the team. Right. So it doesn't really goes through from defense to midfield to attack. A defender is as equal to the attacker in their skill set. So everyone behaves like an attacker or a defender.
Depending on the situation.
Correct. So for me, football has really taught me how to operate between the lines of construction and even the design and everything, and just pivot myself in the center. And that's why the favorite player of mine is Xavi. So he was the captain of the World Cup winning Spanish team, and he is the fulcrum from which the entire Spanish team is now really evolved into a major sort of sports team in the world.
Right, yeah.
And Xavi was called the greatest architect of Spanish football. So back in the day.
Who does he play for? Barca.
So he used to play for Barcelona. He's for
September last year, I was in the Barcelona football stadium.
Oh, really? Wow, that's a dream, man.
I went to Barcelona for all the bit, so.
Oh, wow. Did you like it?
It's all right. Yeah. It was the first time Pat and I got a break. Without the kids, so we fucking loved it.
Oh, that's even better. Even better. But Camp Nou is really cool. Yeah, that's a pilgrimage for me.
Is that?
Oh, really? It is. I'm gonna just bow down there, and because for me that place has really dreams that I, to go there and enjoy a match of football there. But yes, that's the passion I watch. I don't.
And that's had a real positive influence on your profession.
Absolutely. You look at football, it's just a couple of goals, right? But you look at the build-up, you look at how the ball is brought from the back to the front, how the players kind of manipulate the spaces within the lines, how the players come in. So football is a different ball game altogether. You can learn so much of tactical stuff.
There, but a different ball game altogether.
Yeah. The tactical side, the technical side of football really teaches you how to kind of have different kind of patterns you can use within. So I've studied a lot of books where football has really taught me how to implement that in my design journey. And that's why I kind of still love it to the core.
Nice. I have another interesting question for you.
Yeah.
You see the landscape of football now. It's quite interesting. Where you see Middle Eastern clubs seem to start acquiring crazy players. Absolutely. The Qatar World Cup. Actually, it was never crazy famous in the Middle East. But now that's completely changed the landscape. And there's America, it's predominantly European sport.
Yes, absolutely. So,
well, what are your views on that?
I mean, I have in-depth views on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I study politics around football. And politics around football is, if you study politics, you understand how the demographic behavior of the countries are shaping themselves. For example, Qatar was never famous for their human rights record. So, but after the World Cup, they are perceived as a global superpower. But so they're using sports to cover their bad reputation in the market or in the
change how they have to
So now if you look at if you follow what's happening, 2031 is the projected football World Cup for Saudi Arabia. So you see that all this political shift in the powers from UK and European countries to the Middle East, and then even US has acquired Messi, for example. So it's not only Inter Miami, the entire US Congress that wanted Lionel Messi. So they gave him such an offer so they can create that power balance between the nations. So they're really using sports to cover their bad work in the past, or bad
press.
or bad press or whatever.
Either.
So, and that's been a prevalent topic going on in the market, whereby people are thinking they're covering with this oil money. But this has been going on for a while, bro. Even UK is half owned by, UK clubs are half owned by
the Middle East, yeah.
Middle East. So all the money that covering
around call.
You look at the salaries of these footballers, and every oil that you kind of put in the car, everything is getting paid back to the UK through these entertainment funds, going in their pockets. So not everything is that straightforward as you see they are. And but then you understand how the world dynamics are shifting, the global powers. You look at Russia, they did attack Crimea in 2014. They stopped middle way. Why would they stop it? Because they won the competition. They won the bid to host 2018. The moment 2018 won,
what did they win?
Host the Russia World Cup. So football World Cup.
Oh yeah.
So they stopped in 2015 so they can host and create a scenario where they can host 2018.
Yeah.
And then the moment that finished off 2020, what's happened after that,
So wars have been stopped to host the World Cups.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely. That's why Saudi Arabia is now all pally with everyone because they want to host 2031 Football World Cup. It boils down to that.
So it's amazing the influence thought has in our life, isn't it?
Absolutely. We don't even get to know. We are just cheering in the stands. Everything that goes internally, politically, is shaping the way we are living now or in the future.
Interesting news, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, man, I think we're out of time. I've got to wrap it up there. Mate, I can't thank you enough for making the time for me. Yes, I really do appreciate your time, all your valuable insights around the complexities, the challenges around design.
Yes.
Navigating the household. So it's been great. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, Andy. And it's been likewise. This is my first time in front of the mic, but it's been enjoyable. Really fun talking to you.
Yeah.
And really looking forward to collaborate on something else.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, bro.
That's it. Thank you so much.